get a good indication until we get pretty close to the time for semester to begin. And then all of a sudden, you get this influx of students who didn't get their financial aid in, didn't get this in, didn't get their residency done, just decided they're going to come to school. And what do we want to do? We want to accommodate them. We want to try to accommodate them. So there's a scramble at the last minute to move things around. And sometimes we end up having to cancel classes. Nothing pains me more. Nothing. So CollegeNet is going to help try to take some of the mystery out of planning for programming like this. I believe personally that once we implement the new workload that we've bargained with faculty, you heard a lot about, where we expect them now to teach 5 classes instead of 4. Let me talk about that. Why do we do that? Well, first of all, it's state law. Gosh, I should stop right there. But it's state law. And we do have the opportunity to give them release time or reassigned time from that. But the more important thing I need to say to you, because I believe what happens in here is you need to hear what you can repeat. They thought we were just, some of them thought our position was just awful. The highest quality colleges in Florida, 2 colleges that have won national awards as the most outstanding colleges in Florida, in America, 1,200 colleges in America. Santa Fe College and Valencia College use the workload formula that we're putting in place. If you hear this stuff about how we're going to ruin quality, it's nonsense. It's nonsense. The evidence does not support that. In addition, every college that has a union in Florida has the same workload formula. All right, set that aside. Why is that workload formula important? Why it's important is we want faculty to teach fewer students in each class, but more classes. We want them to teach 5 classes instead of 4 for what we pay them. And as a process, as part of that process, we want those class sizes to be smaller. We want to divide out the number of students you might have had in 4 classes, but in 5. Well, how does this help students? 2 ways. Number 1, we expect that a student will be in a class that has a smaller size. That benefits students. The evidence is clear. Number 2, we want, if you're teaching 5 classes instead of 4, now we have more sections that deal with this issue. So that perhaps what we don't end up with is a cancellation of classes because we don't have enough sections or enough opportunities for our students. It's a challenge. I'll tell you, when I talk to Vice President Rowland and I talk to the provost, they anguish over this every semester, but it's an ongoing issue. We're putting in place things like CollegeNet to try to help with that. I think the workload change for faculty should help with that. It should help us be far more predictable in what we do. So, and it does impact. You're absolutely right. It does impact our finances. I mean, if we can't get students in class, if we can't keep students that we've already got, it impacts our finances. It's one of the big 3. Okay. Why does TC not have a fair and equitable policy for all classified staff at TCC campus when it comes to earning comp time at TCC? Well, what I have to say to you is we have a fair and equitable policy. Being fair is something who's been around a long time. You know that that's a real issue with me. I intend and want to be fair. Now, there's a difference between having a fair and equitable policy and having it implemented fairly and equitably. All right, so let's draw the distinction. So I would tell you that I'm 100% confident that our policy for how we do this is fair and equitable. I hear from time to time that we have supervisors that don't fairly and equitably use this policy or implement this policy. And all I can say to you is this: if that's the case, then you need to let it be known to HR. They are the conscience of the college as it relates to issues like this. We don't talk about this a lot publicly. You all don't know how many interventions, how many suspensions, how many counseling sessions, how much discipline that goes on. And I'm not going to tell you we're flooded with it, but we don't talk about things like that. It's just something that we just generally don't do. So don't think that just because you don't hear about it, that it doesn't happen. I mean, we fire people. You've seen that in our folks, and you've seen that in your work environment. So you've seen the ones that end the worst. What you don't get to see are the ones where we hear about a supervisor who's done something that we don't think is appropriate behavior, and we intervene with that. You don't hear about this. We don't run around going, hey, guess what we did? It's great. That's just not a norm. It's just not a norm. Again, earning a comp time, if you have an issue with that, reach out to HR. They will be in the conscience of the college as it relates to them. I want to do the right thing. Look, it doesn't come out of my pay. I want you to be treated fairly and equitably. I want you to be compensated appropriately. We have some limitations, and I hope this isn't related to the hurricane, because folks, that was an unusual event. And I know I've heard some complaining. What's that?
These questions are done before hurricane.
Okay, good. Because I heard some complaining about what people were asked to do. And you know what? I'm sorry. However, unusual events like that, I would hope that people would step up and do the right thing. And so I'm thrilled to hear this was before the hurricane. Thank you. Cool.
It's a long question, huh?
Oh, wow. Wow.
The questions.
Goodness. Okay. Why are TCC administrators allowed to ask classified staff to flex? This one is after reading it a couple of times.
Yeah.
Let's take the first part. Why are TCC administrators allowed to ask classified staff to flex time? That's different from the job hours classified staff member was given when they accepted the job at TCC. Well, again, I'm going to come back to just a couple. You know, all of us, when we're hired, we're expected to do a job. And I would like to think that you're not asking anybody to flex their hours frequently or significantly. But if you're asked occasionally to flex your hours, if you cannot, I think you need to be free to say you cannot. If you can, I think it's absolutely legitimate for you to ask why. I think everybody deserves to know that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, if we need to flex, then I'm afraid I'm going to suggest to you that that's something that I would hope and expect that you would do. You know, I'm a little older than some of you. You know, when I started my career, you worked when you needed to work. And in fact, when I started, we couldn't spell overtime. They didn't have it. I'm glad we're way past it. But I don't want this to be a regular habit on anybody's part, supervisor, or a habit that's imposed on anybody who works here. And we'll treat it on a case-by-case basis. If you feel as if it's an abuse, then again, what I would ask you to do is to reach out to HR. No one wants to abuse anybody that works here. Nobody, starting with me. Okay, when the same CS employee asks their supervisor to flex time, the directors or administrators state they're not allowed. Well, that's just not true. I'm just going to tell you, that's just not true. Any boss here has the authority to flex someone's time. And if somebody tells you they do not have that authority, that's just not true. And again, how we'll deal with that is I would recommend you contact HR. And more importantly, that would pain me greatly. If somebody says they need to flex their time for family or special conditions, and the supervisor said no, I would be asking that supervisor to explain to me why. So yes, flex time should go both directions. You know, when you have a job description, let me just ask you this question. If I ask you right now to write down everything that's in your job description, who could do it?
Oh.
You can do it. Okay. One. Two, you can write out everything in your job description.
80%.
Huh?
80%.
80%, okay. Well, we have that 5% other, don't forget that. You know, job descriptions are critically important, I think, to shape the way we do business, but most of the time, I find people don't really know 100%. I don't know what fixing my job. They don't really know, I think everything's in my job. But I, you know, I think to bring it back to the job description, there's also something that I think everybody needs to be aware of in terms of your power. And that is this: if you feel that your job description is not an accurate reflection of your job, you need to bring it up. You need to talk to your supervisor, you need to talk to HR. Okay? We have no desire to work people out of their job class. So that's an important thing we should do. And yeah, I do think it's a morale and productivity issue. I mean, I'll pick on Candace since she's sitting here now. As, you know, her new role as chief of staff. If she came in and asked me to flex her time, I would darn sure do it because I know that I'm going to ask her to flex her time. Right there. And truth be known, we've already done that. And that's the way it ought to work. I mean, of course, I probably have a different view of work than anybody because I'm never off. And so for me, it troubles me not to come in later than usual because I needed to run an errand because I know that I'm going to be at an event till 9 o'clock tonight. So it doesn't trouble me at all. And when I hear people who get all worked up about flexing, I know there are really important reasons like kids and commitments that you've got. I got that part. But apart from that, you know, I would hope that it would in fact be a two-way street. That it would in fact be a relationship with your supervisor that allows you to do this in a way that it does enhance morale.
So I had a follow-up
Man,
question.
Yeah.
We're talking about like your job description.
Right.
And we will say we can ask for a desk audit if you feel that you're overloaded. Who could ask the desk audit, the employee or your supervisor to HR?
Well, technically it's the supervisor,
Okay.
but I think it should start with the employee. Let me just tell you my experience. I've seen it go either way. I've had employees who kick them off, and I've had supervisors who kick them off.
Okay.
So I don't know that there's a quote right way.
Okay. I'm just curious about that because I heard, one employee was trying to ask for a desk audit and she was declined. They said it has to be your supervisor would ask the HR. So I don't know what happened in that, but I just heard it.
Well, I would certainly expect that the supervisor be in alignment. So here, let's play this out. Let's say you make a decision that you need to have a desk audit. You go to your supervisor and you say, I don't think my job description accurately reflects my job.
Mm-hmm.
I'm being hypothetical. Hypothetically, your supervisor said, no, it does. Now, in the case where you disagree with your supervisor over it, you could bump it up to HR and we could come in, HR could come in and take a look at it. But I would care deeply about what a supervisor has to say. Let me just tell you, I'm a chain of command person.
Mm-hmm.
Law enforcement and military background. I'm a chain of command person. So I care about what a supervisor has to say and what a supervisor's supervisor has to say. Because we put these people in these roles and entrust in them certain responsibilities and certain authority. So I would want to know. It doesn't mean we would go with the supervisor and disregard you. But I would tell you, I would never want to hear about a desk audit being done and the supervisor not knowing about it. That would be wrong.
But it's not me.
Oh, I know.
It's not me, that's for sure. And also, I just also wanted to share about that, the cancellation of the class. I went to a meeting yesterday on institutional effectiveness.
Yes.
And I heard Stephen Donovan, Brett, and Jessica Jones talking about our AS program. And it's very, impressive on how they try to to streamline all our AS degree, especially on the engineering technology. And just to let you guys know that we got funded from Carl Perkins Grant, and we set aside budget for recruitment. So DOE approves it, and I think that's a good path to, to do our marketing on our AS program from, for the high school who's coming into TCC. So I just wanted to share with you on that. We are in a good direction now, getting, like AS program.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Okay.
You got any longer ones?
Oh, there's more.
Oh,
It's a little shorter than the last one,
Really?
I hope.
Okay, so, I don't mean to put everybody on the spot, but is anybody in the room ask this question? Great, talk to me about it.
Well, it has been over 10 years that I have since received a cost of living raise. And the only thing that is done is a bonus. which
So you're at the
to
top, make sure I understand, so you're at the top of the pay grade.
me,
Pay grade, okay, got it.
top and not going anywhere. And, we've had significant raises, in previous years. And then I have noticed too that at some point or another, and I guess that has changed, and I haven't really seen anything out campus-wide about it, but when you reach, when you're getting a above average evaluation, you used to get a rate or a step increase, and I don't know if that's still going on. Like a merit increase. It's not. We don't know if it's going on, or when if it's still going on, if it stopped, when did it stop? Because we never, that was something that was going on, like, as long as I was here, and then suddenly, I don't know if it was when workday went on, right?
It was before that, I think it's in the,
Or what, I didn't see this going on, I wasn't hearing that from other employees, but, when I look back, it's been over 10 years since I had a cost of living raise.
Okay, so for the benefit of everybody in here, let me try to set the stage. I'll try to describe it. If I get it wrong, you help me. Every classification in college is in a pay grade. The pay grade has a minimum and it has a maximum. And what you're describing is that once you reach the maximum, then the college, the only option that an employee has is you can't increase your base rate of pay beyond the maximum. If there's a 2% pay raise given to other employees, you get a 2% one-time bump. Does that sound right? Yes?
Yeah, they
Yes.
call it bonus.
Okay. It doesn't go into your base, and that's the downside. That's what you're talking about. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. Okay.
Well, because one of the reasons that I recall when we got this increase was because of the health insurance increase. Again, that doesn't help anybody who hasn't gotten a cost of living for such costs. But that was the reasoning behind that, because, classified staff did a raise for a while, and we've had significant increases in health insurance, and so we're gonna do this. But, and like I said, I can't believe I'm the only one
Some people, they didn't other people.
out there. And
No, you're not.
No,
That's other people.
Yeah, I think what's
so, it was just one of those kind of things that just felt needed to be allocated, either to relook at the pay grades, increase, I know at some point, studies to, I guess, a couple of them before you came on board. I think you were probably involved in one or two of those coding studies.
I
and
was a
stuff
victim
like
of
that.
one of those.
But, it's one of those things that maybe they might want to relook at it. It's been a long time. like I said, 10 years since I've received the cost of everybody, so a while since I looked at that kind of stuff.
We've been at the top for a long time. I don't know the number who are at the top. It's not as big a number. It's not a big number, right? To your knowledge, Gloria, you probably know more about it than I do.
No, I don't know the exact number, but I know it's not, of course, it's not as big. I don't know, maybe I can
I
talk
think
about
what she needs is, like, for example, if she's librarian 1, and then she needs to reclassify it as librarian 2, 3, and 4, so she can get an increase. And that's the only way probably to do it, because if you're librarian 1, and then the range would be from 20,000 to 35,000, and you've been here for 25 years, and you maxed out your 35,000, for you to be able to probably get increased is to reclassify you from librarian 1 to 2.
So, okay, so there's certainly,
I think that's-
you can get promoted and then you're in a new deal, you can take.
It's
a
up
look
to
at
the
it.
supervisor.
So the answer
But it's up to the supervisor.
It's up to the supervisors to have it in the budget.
Yeah,
So the answer to your last one, the honest answer is no, we're not actively and seriously looking at it. What I will tell you is we will go look at it. We have not been actively and seriously looking at it. Number one, because I wasn't aware that there are a significant number of folks impacted. Number two,
I saw your blog and I almost went on there and then I go, you, I know.
well, the-
And then when this came out, I just threw out the
well, good,
question.
no, this is the kind of question I'm glad you asked, because we will look.
yeah.
The purpose of putting a cap on pay grades is to control the personnel cost of the college. And thankfully, there are not a lot of you who are at the top, but we'll go back and take a look at it, okay? But again, I'm gonna be candid and tell you that, no, it has not been something we've been actively and seriously looking at. But I will tell you that we will go look at it and see what we can come up with.
So, for your information, I don't plan on retiring. I don't consider myself old enough.
Well, you're not old enough.
I feel like I have a lot more to contribute.
Well, good. Good. Well, thank you for raising that issue. Thank you. Okay. We're getting short. Can we assume the aforementioned concerns will not be addressed until the faculty union issues are resolved? Meaning the questions we just talked about?
Just the last one, if I can say it.
No, so the question you just raised is a great example. Has nothing to do with faculty union. Nothing. So the questions, I don't recall seeing a single question that would get wound up in the whole union negotiation process. The union, we have a contract with the union. That's done. And we're now working through the implementation of that, but that's done. And it has no impact on the questions that you all have raised.
This whole thing is somewhat uncomfortable. I'm
Which part?
uncomfortable with the whole thing because you deal with a lot of faculty and there's a lot of dissension among a lot of people that sort of brings the whole campus down. And wish there was a way for them to sort of pick it up a little bit here, maybe, even though it's not something that maybe the majority of the campus wants, this is what the faculty wants, but it's one of those things that if we could just try to relook at it and turn it around and make it more positive than what it seems to be coming across campus right now.
Unionization is hard. So when the faculty was talking about creating a union, I said this then, and I've said it, I've been constant in my messages. I went through unionization in 2 different agencies before this college. Both of them were law enforcement agencies. One was Fort Walton Beach Police Department, one was the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. What I learned when we went through this was that relationships are the first thing that get changed. And I have seen it play out in here at this college. I told the folks, you're gonna see it. And of course, everybody thought I was off base. But I watched it. I watched some of our faculty who were badgered and belittled and other faculty during the process based upon their position, whether we should have union. There continues to be, and and this is just natural part of the process, but there continues to be a small group that misrepresent the way this process went. And I'm going to say that because let me tell you, how many faculty talk to me and how many faculty talk to our provost and ask questions that clearly indicate they've never even read the agreement. They're listening to what certain people are saying about what's in the agreement, and it's not accurate. It's not accurate. And it's not always wrong. But you would like to believe that at least they would give out accurate information, and it's not happening. And so we've got a small group that are continuing to spin things, accuse the administration of all kinds of things, which is that's what they're going to do. Time is what heals this process. And our actions over time are going to be consistent. They're going to focus on the success of our students. We're going to do the best we can. We didn't damage faculty. We didn't go into this being vindictive. We went into this saying, this is the workload that benefits our students. We are the ones who offered them 2% pay raise. I don't know why, by the way, they're paying 1% of their salary to be a member of the union. Union didn't give them a darn thing. Everything that's in their contract is stuff that we put in that contract. And again, we simply want to take advantage of the fact that when you have to write an agreement out like this is your moment where you write down what your expectations are. And that's what we did. Now, I didn't want it because, in fact, I'll tell this story. I hope you find it humorous because it's when we went into this thing. Faculty 2 years ago said, you know, Jim, this shouldn't change the relationship between faculty and the administration. And I said, well, let me tell you what I'd like for you to do. I did this. Because I want you to go home tonight. And I want you to sit across the table from your wife, your husband, your friend, your loved one. I want you to do this. I want you to look across and say, sweetheart, I think you and I should write down our expectations of each other. Won't change our relationship for anything. And come back tomorrow and tell me how that went. The process, folks, changes the relationship. It just does. It's like if you have a prenuptial, premarital agreement. Right? Tell me that doesn't change. It just does. So we work through it. You know, I am confident that 95+% of our faculty get up every day and come to work and care and do a great job for our students, and they do the right thing, and they're proud to do the right thing. And I don't know that it's as much as 5%, but there is a small percentage of our faculty who are all about themselves. It's all about, you know, how does this impact their money? And I get that. You know, I'm not immune to that. But you know, when you hear comments like I heard through 2 years of negotiation, they're really troubled. They're really troubled. When you have a faculty member who comes up and gets in my face and says, how dare you suggest that I should be responsible for whether my students learn anything?
That's absurd.
Well,
Did you fire him?
so
Yeah.
after my initial shock, I said, what should we hold you accountable for? You know what the answer was? Nothing. You know, folks, so the 2 years, what we saw was the best in some come out and what I'm going to call the worst in some came out. It's going to take time. As we get into this, I think the problem right now is fear of the unknown. They're afraid that these changes are going to cause them to, you know, work incredible hours and be up till 2 o'clock in the morning grading papers. But that's not what I want. That's not what we want. But until you do it, until you actually get in the game and do it, you're listening to people who are promoting fear, then, you know, I'm confident we're just going to be patient. We're going to be consistent. We're going to do the right thing. We're going to do the right thing by our faculty and to the best of our ability. And and we're gonna move past this. It just takes time. I don't like it either. It pains me. You know, I've been here a long time. People forget, I've been at this college 19 years.
I've been here for 33 years.
You win.
And
So it should pay you too.
I have seen a lot of growth and positive things have happened from the time I was a student here and from the time that I became employed here at TCC. And unfortunately, I'm just sort of seeing the slow decline of, maybe it is morale. I don't know. If I'm seeing
It's changed. This is my second tour here and it's totally different.
Well, and you know what? So here's the candor again. We're gonna continue to change. And if folks aren't good with change, you ought to be considering working here. I'm not gonna apologize for change.
No, I'm not saying change, understand the attitudes. To me, people just don't seem to feel they care anymore.
Well, you know, I see pockets of that, but I see the other side. I'm gonna say, I'm pretty impressed with the folks who live here. But I hear you. Morale is important. It pains me, trust me. But I come back to this, you know, I'm not here to make everybody happy. I'm here to take care of students. And if we all can get on that bandwagon, then I'd like to have fun doing it. But let's remember why we're here. And that's a mantra you're going to hear me say with faculty. And again, folks, you know, we always talk about the faculty who are a problem. And we step past the overwhelming number of faculty who do a great job. We do the same thing with classified staff. We talk about those who are a problem. We talk about a supervisor who's a problem. We got a whole lot of classified staff here, a whole lot of wonderful classified staff here. And the same thing with supervisors. Okay, so what other questions do you have for me? I want to make sure. Oh, are there more of those?
No.
Oh, okay.
Questions from the floor?
I just have a comment, more so than a question.
Sure.
I'm looking at it from both ends, because, you know, in May, I walk across the stage and get my diploma this coming May.
Congratulations.
Which is something that I'm super excited about, because I started school and then came back home and worked and started a family. Now, for my sons to be able to see me walk across the stage is something. But I had great teachers along the way. Gloria was one of my teachers, believe it or not. Whoa!
Oh, Laura, we can talk.
And get involved on campus really helped me a lot. I mean, with AFC, with classified staff, with the African American History Calendar Committee, and everything else that I'm involved with on campus. It just feels, I love where I work. I love what I do. I love having an impact on other people, whether it's students or whether it's faculty. So I think it's more so in the person, how they choose to accept the morale and how they choose to accept what's going on campus. Because I feel as if it is you who can make a difference in any situation. So I know I heard a lot from faculty about union stuff, like I told them. And they kept asking the question, well, are you guys gonna, the staff should, you know, I said, for what?
For what?
We're fine.
Yeah.
You know, but I looked at it from the standpoint that, you know, I enjoy, and I'm not saying that every day I've been happy, every day I would go home, you know, I'm smiling from ear to ear. Some days I go home, beat down, wore out, my wife said, just sit down and leave me alone. But I mean, it's the fact that I know I have people that care. And I can honestly say, you know, from the president down to all of our VPs and people that I interact with, you can tell that they genuinely care. And that's what keeps me coming back every day and trying my best to make a difference to others on campus.
You know, Greg, if everybody did that, you know, we'd be far better off. And again, you know, that morale just does sort of start with us. I worked for Boss one time, I'll tell you this story. I worked for Boss, I won't tell you who it was. Wasn't here. But I worked for Boss, and we sat in the meeting and somebody complained about morale. And his answer was, well, morale's good in my suite. You got a problem, you got a problem. I don't believe that. I don't feel right. But you know, one of the interesting pieces of that is I do think we impact the people around us.
Yes.
And you know, I will tell you, not every day is rosy for me. I know that's a shock. But there's a little trick that I do. I'm going to share it with you. I encourage you to try it. There are days when I get out of the car and I've been on the phone, let's just say issues. And I get to the campus and I get out of the car, the very first person I see, whether it's a student, whether it's somebody I'm working on the grounds, whether it's a police officer, I don't care. Very first person I see, I stop and I say, Candace, how are you doing today? I haven't seen you in a while. How's your family? And I just have a little conversation. And you know what? Changes my whole day. Whoever it is, whoever it is. You know, spread a little, right? Bobette?
Oh, I have to agree with Greg. You know, I have grandchildren. I've worked in the days for $2 an hour. But I have to say, this is one of the most positive places that I have ever worked because the people really do care. And I don't work directly with faculty. You know, we have somebody in TC Center. But I love my job. And just want to let you know that. I'm just kind of out there on the horizon. I know it's the states are starting to consider free tuition, especially on the community college level. Is that, I just moved down here from Alaska, so I'm getting pretty familiar with Florida. Is that a consideration in Florida legislation?
Very interesting question. Did you have it in Alaska?
No.
So in this gubernatorial race that's about to get resolved, the Democratic candidate, Andrew Gillum, who's the mayor of the city of Tallahassee, has, I think he's mentioned free college tuition. But I'm not 100% sure now. I know Andrew, we simply haven't had a conversation about it. I'm going to tell you my view. First of all, I think it's a bad idea.
Somebody's got to pay for it.
Well, so let me give you my talking points, and you can either use them or choose not to use them. I get it. Let's talk on a practical level first. You heard me say, I think $30 million of our operating budget comes from the state, right? So who's going to replace that $30 million at TCC? Do you have any idea, if you looked at the 28 colleges in Florida, can you even imagine the amount of money it would take to replace that at a college? That's part one. So I don't think it's practical. The legislature is not going to come up with hundreds of millions of dollars to replace those funds. They've not shown any indication of what. But let me talk more philosophically. A degree has two characteristics. It's what in my world we call public good and a private good. So a degree is a public good because when you get your degree, then you go, you contribute to society, you pay more taxes, you buy more goods, you contribute to the profitability of the company that you've joined, and there is some public benefit to your degree. Pick a medical doctor. There's a public benefit to someone who gets that degree, right? It also has a private benefit, meaning only you get the benefit of your degree. So you get to spend the money you make by having your degree on the things that you want to own, and you do not share it. So it has both. In Florida, we have historically had a funding strategy that recognized that there were both. And a long time ago, 3/4 of the funding in Florida was public money and 1/4 was private. And I don't know the right ratio, but the fact that there should be some ratio of public funding and private funding makes sense to me personally because of the two characteristics of the degree. I think on a separate note, I think those of you in advising and who deal with students would probably confirm this. Students who have skin in the game are more involved in their education. If you gave them 100% of the funding and they didn't have skin in the game, the likelihood they would walk away goes up. Additionally, this is a statistic that I had Dr. Lei Wong put together for. Those who talk about free college tuition think they're doing students a favor. I mean, truly, and I know their heart is in the right place. 14% of the cost to come to TCC for a student is tuition. 14%. So if you took care of their tuition, they've still got 86% of the cost of their education that they have to pay for. That's housing, that's books, that's food, that's transportation. It's all of the other costs that it takes for a student to come. So what are you really doing to help a student by taking care of that 14%? And then you add on to that, this whole notion that, students, I will say this, students should expect to get value from their education. They should expect to leave here and be able to pay off any debt they have by getting a good paying job. I get that part. I could go on and on. The arguments for me are so compelling that it's not logical, it's not possible, and I don't think it's advantageous for students. So
I totally agree with you. I was just wondering if it was, it can one benefit, it may up enrollment, but, I was just wondering if it's.
yeah, so again, to go back to the piece about let's take that funding away from a college. What does that funding do? Faculty, advisors, librarians. I mean, you're not helping the student. You're helping them. If I have half the amount of money, we're going to have half the number of professors, half the number of librarians, half the number of everything, right? It's just simple math. That doesn't benefit a student. So if you want to benefit a student, you invest in the college. You don't cut funding by what a great tagline, free college tuition. It sounds good. I just on so many levels, I just don't think it's possible, nor advantageous. Great question. Yes.
Where would you personally like to see the college going from here on forth? In other words, what would you like to see improved or reformed to make this a better college?
Sure. Well, I'll answer that in two ways. There's an end goal, and there are the goals to get us to the end goal. The end goal is I would love for this college to be recognized as the Aspen Prize winning college in America, the #1 college in America, just like Santa Fe, and just like Lewis. So how are we going to get there? We've embarked on guided pathways as a particular way in which we're going to try to help students identify which courses they need to be in and what path they need to take. It was on vibrate. So I think the things we're doing, the guided pathways, we want to make some changes, I think, ultimately in advising, try to improve the advising process. We're understaffed in advising, candidly. I think all of those things are how we get to that ultimate goal. Along the way, I think what we want to do is do the things that set us up to be an Aspen Prize winning college. Somebody mentioned Workday. I know for some of you it's a 4-letter word, but Workday, we will get through this. And what I will tell you is that Workday will transform the experience of our students. So if we can use the technology to leverage the experiences of students in ways that, sound almost like science fiction today. Imagine when we get to a point where we have chatbots, where a student can go online and engage with something that sounds like someone or feels like someone, and they can have all their questions answered. They can do all of their transactions in terms of uploading documents and getting classes they need and answering questions that they need answered. These chatbots are becoming quite common. You experience them in retail right now, Amazon and some of the other places, right? So I see the technology as being a real useful way in which we transform experiences. But we want to kind of tend to the basics. I want to be the best college we can be for the students who choose to come here. I want to improve our graduation rates. I want to see us improve our retention rates. I want our graduates to leave here and get good paying jobs. So if we do those things, then we'll be an Aspen Prize winner. Great question. Amy?
I will ask one quick one. Is there a possibility, like with the tuition benefit, for employees for their spouse and their children. If you live in Georgia, is there any way that, there's a possibility that could be waived or that, they have, I'm not sure what the official name of it, like if you're in such, 70 miles of the college, they incorporate you in. I know Troy State did that and Dothan. And I think some other colleges do that, but like I would have to pay out-of-state tuition for my kids to come here.
I'm
That's
not
what I
aware of
was
that.
told.
I'm not aware of that. I mean, I thought the tuition benefit gave you 6 semester hours. I'm not aware of it being in-state versus out-of-state.
I asked, but that's what I was told, was I would have to pay out-of-state tuition. So I didn't know if that was maybe a possibility of
You're
employees.
talking about for the 6 free credit hours
Yeah.
that you're offered?
Yes, for and spouse and children.
It's for dependents.
It's for dependents too.
Up to 6.
Right, but you're saying that they said because you live outside of
I live in
the.
Georgia, but I would have to pay out-of-state tuition.
Let's look into that.
Yeah.
That's a new one for me.
Yeah.
Because I've only ever heard it referred to as 6 semester hours.
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody refer to in-state hours.
Yeah, I asked multiple people and I was told that, so. But thank you,
We'll look into it.
thank you.
Sir, we have a student faculty day. Can we also have classified staff day?
What's not
You said, can you have classified staff? Only if
Student
there's food.
faculty.
It's
We
not
have
student
student
action. Business.
Only if there's food.
Amen.
No.
Yes.
You know, I like that idea.
Yeah. I have to.
Why don't, Lori, how about classified staff steering committee consider the idea of classified staff appreciation? Event, day, whatever. I mean, we do, of course, we do luncheon. I'm one of those, I don't think you can celebrate too much. But we'll look at it.
Yeah, well, mine was kind of going, Amy kind of was talking about the benefits, but where we sit along the border, as she said, like Dothan, some of the Valdosta State, has TCC ever looked at, and I know we're only a 2-year institution versus a 4-year, have we ever looked into those that are in Bainbridge, not fully out of state, but giving them that middle ground tuition where they're not in state, but they're not out of state?
Well, the answer to your question is yes, we looked into it. We really only have 2 choices. You're either in state or you're out. And so here's the unfortunate math. Probably 2 years ago, I guess, I asked them to do that exact exercise.
Mhm.
Should we consider allowing border states to have in-state tuition? Because it is something we theoretically could do. All right, so out-of-state students pay 4 times the tuition of in-state students, right? So let's do math. I would have to feel that from a financial standpoint, I'd have to feel good that we could increase our enrollment by 4 times from out of state to replace the amount of money we currently are receiving. And candidly, we didn't get anywhere near feeling comfortable that we could do that. It's unfortunate. That was a fiscal decision. Y'all can move to Leon County.
Well, I live in Leon County, I was just wondering, because we had such a large, working the testing center, dealing with so many online students as well, I wasn't sure.
Everybody else.
Well, there's housing available. I know a lot of realtors. Good question. Okay.
Any more questions?
No,
Well, again, let me say thank you. Thank you for being here. And thank you for what you do every day. I don't know your jobs, but I'm gonna tell you, I don't take you for granted. What you do every day is much appreciated. And I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thanks.
Thank you for coming back, Roberta.
Now you can have a meeting after the meeting.